we're going to be talking about slime. The reason why I want to talk about slime today is mostly because, for those of you that don't know, I have my bachelor's in communications, and slime does a lot of that, and it honestly really interests me. You know, I'm not perfect, and I might make some mistakes today. I might say some things that just are incorrect, and if I do, go ahead and leave that down in the comments. I will be sure to ignore it. I wanted to do this because I seen slime. You know, I've watched him for a while now. He's really good at what he does, and I just honestly wanted to put something together for it. I just wanted to whip something together and show, you know, why he does how well he does, because we all know Slime's really good at what he does. The making of a good interviewer. Who is Slime Ande? Slime Ande is honestly a man that is a little bit hard to learn about. He doesn't have a whole lot of information out there, which honestly probably is what he would want. It's probably what he wants in general. Doesn't particularly want his whole life story out there. Understandable. But we do know he's from Colorado, and he is really into video games. He's always been kind of a gamer. You know, in particular, Smash, Super Smash Brothers Melee. He's always kind of been in the scene. You know, he started out as obviously a participant, eventually kind of worked up to a commentator for a lot of different Smash events that were held throughout the country. And then he went on to get a job with Beyond the Summit, BTS. And he was able to become a creative director for them in that role. I'm not exactly honestly sure what that all entails at that company, but that's what he did for a few years. And I think, you know, he did well for himself. He's now Ludwig's manager, essentially, I think is the title that he chooses. I'm not sure what it is. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But he basically, you know, kind of babysits him, make sure he he gets where he needs to get and does what he needs to do. You know, he's his kind of everything guy. But talking today, what I want to talk about is that Slime is a fantastic interviewer. He is one of the better interviewers I have seen as of late. And, you know, I pay attention to this kind of stuff. I notice this kind of stuff after studying, wasting so much money at university for so long. I just know, you know, kind of the ins and outs of a couple different things. You know, I don't know everything. I just have my bachelor's. It's not like I have my master's. But I know my stuff. So, you know, just seeing Slime do what he does, I thought it'd be really cool to put this together. Honestly, Slime could be more than what he is, and I'm sure he knows that. Like, he could go and be like a regular interviewer for like a big news company or something like that. But I don't know if he exactly wants to. But you know, that's the kind of respect I hold for him. And I think he really could do something to that degree. Slime, obviously, as we talked about, started in the Smash scene. He, you know, started as a participant, was doing competitions, commentary. My main focus I want to focus on is his days when he was doing Slime on the Scene on his YouTube channel, Bad Melee. Slime had a very particular way of doing interviews. He he had a special way of bringing a lot of life to interviews whenever he decided to do them when he was doing Slime on the Scene. I'm just gonna show you.
Sheik, Samus, Fox. Fuck, marry, kill. What do you think the chances are that one of your subs is a murderer? Does it bother you at all that Bernie Sanders has more Twitter followers than you? Is there a way you can help influence a function in Smash GG that would detect people that clap to the Dreamland theme?
Well,
and then we could just put them in a warehouse and just lock the door.
I mean, there's so much to talk about in so many of these clips, but I just want to point out these are all from the same video. I thought I was gonna have to do some digging. I thought I was gonna have to, you know, squirm through the throats of YouTube in order to find some good clips, but this was all from the same video. Make sure you understand the amount of energy this man puts into all of his interviews. And he, you know, I think we can all agree those were all entertaining. And I really, the goal of today is to basically explain why. Why is this so entertaining? Why is it so, like, just pleasant to listen to this man interview people? Now, I'll get into why Slime is just goated in just a second. But the main thing I want you to take away of why he's so good at what he does, first and foremost, without breaking down all of the nuances of what he does and why he does the way that he does, is that he's had practice. That's the main thing. He wasn't always the best at all of the interviews that he did. He's human. No one can be. But he's just been getting out there and doing it, which is the main thing. And now he's just good at it. So the main thing is he's just had a lot of practice, and you can't really replace that a lot of times. It's just practice, getting out in the field. So that brings us to now. What does make Slime so great? And like a lot of great interviewers, Slime does a lot of those same things. But there is also something special that Slime does that makes him that special guy. But first, let's talk about establishing rapport and comfortability. This is a very, very important thing in a lot of interviews. As someone who is not, typically the best at talking and doing, in-person interviews, I'm okay at talking to people. But for the most part, Slime's in a category of his own. He is really great at the job that he does. And I just want to show you guys a couple clips of him establishing rapport, which, by the way, if you don't know what that means, it means establishing some sort of connection between you and the person you're interviewing. Some sort of grounds to stand on, to have a common ground of understanding between the two of you of what you're doing in that moment of time during your conversation. This is more recent. This is at the Streamer Awards from this last year. This is an example of establishing some rapport and making it so someone who might not be really good at interviews feel just a little bit more comfortable. That's part of your job as an interviewer because, well, we'll talk about that in a sec. But let's just watch how Slime does it.
I'm here with Box. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm very nervous. This is my first in-person event in a long time.
He was telling me that he usually just sits in his room, doesn't leave the cave. I'm the same way, so we're a bit of kindred spirits there.
Yeah.
So that's really short, but it's really important. It's really short what he just did, but it's actually really important because Box just opened up, told him that he is nervous. He verbally said, "I am nervous." And, Slime broke the ice. He made a little joke at Box. But then he kind of broke himself down as well to say, hey, we're at the same level. That's really cool. So that's just one of the things that I think makes, this type of simple interaction, this small little thing. I mean, I could point out 20 million different things that he's doing just in that small little clip. Okay, maybe not 20 million, but he's making eye contact. He's addressing him directly. He's not worried about the camera, but we'll get to that in a sec. But my main point is like establishing that kind of rapport, establishing that this is just a normal interaction. Just talk to me. He's literally looking at him and just talk to me. Don't worry about the camera. This is also from the Streamer Awards. I obviously was able to pull a lot of his more recent interviews because he did an absolutely phenomenal job at the streamer interviews for pretty much all of his interviews. I am saying the word interview a little bit too much. But the point is, there's a lot of content to pull from here, and I'm going to, because there was a lot of different examples of different things he did while talking to all these different people.
You look great. I actually forgot my shoes, which is unfortunate.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't have to. I appreciate you trying.
like the guy that's like shaking his head over there.
The camera guy doesn't. He doesn't think it's cool.
So what he did right there was a little bit of a lull in the conversation. If you couldn't tell, there was a little bit of a, I don't know what to say, because the person is interviewing, Code Miko, she's not exactly wanting to make fun of him right there. I don't think that exactly was what she wanted to do, which is fine. One of the things you have to understand in communication, in an interview particularly, is that it's kind of like a dance. You're doing a dance with the person you're interviewing. You're doing a verbal dance. And a lot of times what I wanted to get across with this clip is that Slime takes it and he is able to guide the interview, even with the lull in the conversation. One of the most important things in an interview is that the flow of conversation is more important than most things within the interview. Obviously content is king within the interview, so like getting what you need to get if it's a more serious interview. But in a situation like this, getting in, getting out, and having a positive interaction overall, a net positive, is the most important thing, and it's something that Slime does really well. That brings us to our next point, actually, and that is shepherding the sheep. Now, what I basically mean about this is that, how conversation is a dance. You are both coordinating to try and get through this conversation as, well as possible without stepping on each other's toes or theoretical toes. But the thing about dance is that one person has to lead. And the thing that Slime does effectively in a lot of his interviews is he's able to properly coordinate the interview exactly where he pretty much wants it to go.
I did a little research. I looked on your Twitch page, and there's a question there that says, "Are you Korean / are you gay?" And then the answer is just no.
Yeah,
You get that a lot.
yes, both questions, I get them equally often. A lot of people can't tell the difference between different Asian races. I am Chinese. Everyone always asks I'm Korean because I'm good at League of Legends.
Wow. So you are good at League of Legends. I looked that up too, and you're one of the greats. You're up there. I want you to look at me.
So I want you guys to understand that not only did Slime, which is another thing that we're not even talking about today. There's so many things to interviews that I'm not even touching on, but doing research beforehand to effectively come up with a way to, talk to the people that you're going to interview. And that's really specific to what this situation is, because like say you're a news anchor or news caster or something out on the streets, you're not exactly going to know exactly who you're talking to, so you can't do that. But the point of this is these kind of interviews, it's super important to have the context of who you're talking to, what they're about, their history. It really helps in a lot of different interviews, and Slime does that effectively. But that's not even what I'm talking about. Slime took that and made it so that he knew where he wanted the conversation to go, because right now BoxBox, as we learned earlier, was already nervous. Slime is trying to get a net positive result out of this, and through that, he's trying to make sure that this conversation goes as smoothly as possible. BoxBox feels good about the interaction, and that the audience enjoys the interaction overall, because at the end of the day, content is king. If you put out good content, that's it. Now, Slime does this shepherding of the sheep, guiding the conversation, whatever you want to call it. He does that so well. And it really helps elevate him in the view of the public and makes it look a lot more professional. Even if someone who was like uppity and tight about what people thought or what people would think, given the questions that he does ask, it doesn't matter, because the people like him. He makes sure the conversation for both the people and the person he's interviewing comes out net positive. And he's gotten so good at it. It's honestly crazy how he's able to direct a conversation on how he wants it to go. There was two things that I also didn't even make a slide about, but I actually do want to touch on. One of the things I want to talk about is that reacting and actively listening to the person that you're interviewing is super important. And Slime, as we've talked about, is really good at this too. Slime is really good at this mostly because he is able to effectively not think about the questions that he has following, and instead actually actively listen to the person that he's interviewing. Because of this, it allows him to do things like this. If you remember what I said, Slime, his whole goal throughout all of this is to make sure that his interviewer and the people who are watching are both entertained and come out net positive. I'm going to be saying that a lot.
So many people that are tuned in for this.
So,
Such a baby. It's insane.
Watch.
Where are you from?
I'm actually from Norway, so we flew in here.
Norge!
He listened for the answer. He didn't just... granted, he might have known that before, but he listened for the answer, effectively reacted from it, and made sure to show him with his face, because most conversation is not verbal. It's with your body. And the thing that, people have to understand is that you can't be standing still waiting for someone to answer your question that you're asking them and just waiting for them to finish so that you can ask them the next question. That is not an effective thing. And honestly, I've seen people do that and they just wait for the person to be done so that they can ask their next question. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It makes it feel unnatural, makes people feel awkward, both the people watching and the interviewer or interviewee. Slime does a really effective job of being able to make sure that everyone knows that he's here one-on-one. He's not concerned about the people watching.
Hey!
Hey, yeah, we flew in yesterday, so...
See how happy he looks? See how happy he looked and reacted because Slime reacted the way that he did? He didn't have to say that. He could have just said, "Oh, Norway, that's really cool." He didn't have to react like that. But Slime is enthusiastic. He makes it seem so that he's really happy and he's really interested in what you have to say, at least in that moment, regardless of how he feels in real life.
So how are you enjoying it so far?
It's been amazing. Like everybody looks so beautiful and handsome, and yeah.
Very happy.
And
Very
it's
happy.
amazing.
That means he's, you know,
There's an open bar.
he's talking without having to talk. Basically, he's talking without having to talk, and it's just good. You know, I don't know how many different ways I can say what he does is good. I can only point out what he does individually. and what he's doing is the correct thing. There is one thing that I don't exactly have a word for, and it's what Slime sometimes does. I do only have one clip of this, and I do want to show it, but I call it the Brock example. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the anime Pokemon, someone will basically ask a dumb question, and not saying that the question that Slime asks is dumb, but it's to give the audience a chance to learn about something that they don't exactly know about already if they haven't been paying attention. And basically, Brock is always the one to answer that question. So Slime basically, in this scenario, will ask a question in order to let the interviewee basically do the interview for him, and lets him set up the rest of the interview based on the context that the person answers the question on.
I'm a little bit new to streaming and stuff, but you are a VTuber, right?
Yeah, I'm a VTuber.
Okay, and so
He is he's new to streaming, not exactly, and he says you're a VTuber.
I once saw on Twitter a guy made a VTuber that was the shape of a gun.
Huh? A what?
A pistol. But you don't do that. You do like a different, like you're like a person.
Yeah, I do a person. Yeah, like a little 3D character. Not a gun. What were you watching?
There's just a guy on Twitter.
Yeah, so basically he lets the person talk and basically lets them explain what they need to explain for what he's asking. He plays the character of the dumb character. He's not dumb at all. But he knows what he's doing. He's letting the other person explain what he wants to say out loud, but can't because they're the person with the social authority on the subject in this scenario. So basically, Slime has a lot of great qualities as an interviewer. And, you know, like most people, he's unique. The biggest thing that sets Slime apart away from these people that also do really exceptional interviews and do all the things we've talked about, it's not that he's got years of doing this under his belt. You know, it's not that he's in the gaming space. Honestly, he takes one of the first rules of what we talked about today and kind of just throws it out the window. But not exactly throws it out the window, but more so makes it so that he kind of makes it work for him. So the thing that makes Slime different than a lot of interviewers, the thing that I think makes it so that he's really good, specifically in the space that he's in, and I think he could make it work for other spaces as well, is that he prioritizes comedy over the flow of conversation. So we talked about earlier how conversation is a dance. Slime isn't afraid to stand in the middle of the dance floor with the person he's interviewing, standing still, if not, you know, sitting down, crisscross applesauce, and just stare at each other. If it's in the name of comedy, if they're doing something funny and it's good content, he prioritizes that, which is amazing. The thing is, he's not afraid. He's not afraid to sit in the awkward silence, as long as it's funny. This is a great example of that. Now, his interviewee takes it really well. Like, it's a good dynamic. All right, for a second, it's a little bit, you hold in your breath for a second, but
You ever get worried that you don't shut off the IRL stream and just like beat off in the sink?
I wouldn't ever take my camera into the sink.
But it shows it like it's in the kitchen, right? And then you do your sink thing, which you always do.
I mean, like, do you beat off in the sink?
Sorry, the Matrix in my ear is talking to me. You've seen the Matrix, right?
so he completely derails the conversation. He sends it to the stratosphere, to left field. No one is there to understand what he's talking about, why he's talking about it. His interviewee is just wondering why he's being asked this question, but it's funny, and that's why it's okay. There were so many comments about how Slime was a great interviewer. This whole video was full of comments that Slime is a great interviewer. God tier interviewer. Now, what none of these people really matters is what they say. It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, he knows it's funny. And that's what matters to him. And that's what I think really helps him in a lot of his interviews, is that he's not afraid to really just push the boundaries. Make sure that people, don't think he's just another interviewer. I don't think he cares what other people thinks. But I think he does it for himself. He does it for himself to make sure that he knows he's on his A game. I think he really takes pride in that, and that makes him a really good interviewer. I hold a lot of respect for Slime, and I'm really happy to see that he is where he is today. And he's worked, I'm sure, really hard to get where he is. Whether or not he feels like he deserves it is up to him, but I think he is a great interviewer, and I honestly hope he continues to do what he likes to do, because what he does right now is really good. He's really good at what he does, and I hope he does enjoy those moments where he does get to show off his ability to interview people, talk to people. Slime does stream, so if you want to follow him, go follow him. It's Slime IRL. I would not comment in his chat. Just sit back, enjoy the show, like literally just that. But yeah, it's really cool, and I'm glad I got to talk about this today. I don't know, felt like it. All right. Bye.